Police confirming that the suspect in 8-year-old Tazne van Wyk's killing was on parole but had absconded at the time of the murder. Joining us via Skype now is Kayla Murray, who speaks for the Western Cape Community Safety MEC Albert Fritz. Ms. Murray, good evening to you and welcome. You will agree that this is the most awful end to a tragic story.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on air. Yes, I 100% agree with you. I think everyone who has been touched by the story or affected by the story has been left heartbroken, having found out that the body of Tazne van Wyk was just tossed in a storm water drain in Worcester. It's a heartbreaking story. I think many of us hoped that we would find Tazne and that there would be a positive outcome to this.
What societal and legal prescripts exist that allow something like this to happen? Where, Ms. Murray, is the weakness in the system, in the MEC's opinion?
So the narrative that has been circulating, it's one that I agree with and it's one that Minister Fritz also agrees with, is that the parole system doesn't adequately allow for the protection of the innocent and vulnerable. So in this instance, the suspect was out on parole when in fact, he shouldn't have been. He had committed a prior murder. He was dangerous to the public at large, and he was allowed to be free in the streets. And upon doing so, he then committed another heinous crime against a young person. So if you want to look at one particular aspect of the criminal justice system that really ought to be reformed, I would say it's the parole system.
Provincially, though, there is little, I guess, that you can do apart from express your anger. You're unable to influence policy in this respect, are you?
Yes, so this matter would fall under the Department of Correctional Services. From our side, what we can do is we can lobby for change, and in fact we will, because it is abhorrent that in South Africa we have a recidivism rate of up to 90%. So what that actually means is that when someone leaves jail, they're a hardened criminal. They might have gone in for petty theft, but they'll leave a gangster or worse. And it just means that there's no rehabilitation when one goes to jail. There's little purpose in going to jail other than just to punish someone. So there are real amendments that do need to be made, and we will fight for them.
It's not just a parole issue, of course, is it? Your department is also responsible for the safety of community in the Western Cape. There surely is a failure as far as your department is concerned. You could do more to create an enabling environment to protect the citizens of the Western Cape, surely.
So in the case of Tazne van Wyk, we initially responded by activating our community policing forums and neighborhood watches to assist in the search for Tazne van Wyk. We then went on to launch a reward for anyone who had any information on Tazne and on the suspect. Upon doing that and upon the arrest of Muhyiddin Pankhaka, we then said that the reward would be still made available to anyone who had any information on Tazne. Upon doing that, and upon the discovery of Tazne's body, we then launched or activated our court watching brief unit. So something I want to say about the court watching brief unit is the first in the country. And what makes it so successful is that it monitors the entire process of court when, for example, the victim arrives at court, when the perpetrator arrives at court, whether the evidence is presented, whether the docket is presented. In the event that none of those things are present or one of those things aren't present, leading to the withdrawal of the case or the case being struck off the court roll, we then compile a report which is presented to the provincial commissioner, allowing us to have that case put back onto the court roll to ensure that justice continues. Aside from that, this department or this Western Cape government has also begun launching the Western Cape Safety Plan. So as you'll recall, on the 9th of February, we launched our 500 law enforcement officers who will be deployed into some of the most tough or criminally plagued communities within our province.
But, Ms. Murray, that will be of little solace to the family. Everything that you've told me is all post-fact, isn't it? You're acting after the horse is bolted.
Well, no, we are being proactive through the Western Cape Safety Plan. And the reason for that is because we have both a law enforcement arm of the safety plan and a violence prevention arm of the safety plan. I think the violence prevention part is the part that doesn't get communicated clearly, so please allow me to do so now. What it aims to do is it aims to launch a myriad programs, including the first 1,000 days, additional after-school care, and the expansion of the Chrysalis Youth Program, so that we tackle the socioeconomic contributors towards crime, making sure that the youth are diverted from a life of crime so that they do not become vulnerable or become criminals themselves.
Just a final question. I am assuming that MEC Albert Fritz has reached out to the family this evening. What did he say to them?
He reached out to them prior. Since hearing of Tazne's body, we have asked that the Department of Social Development contact the family again to provide social services. Previously, the family said that the social services were not required at the time, but we understand that this situation is incredibly traumatic, and so services may still be required.
Kayla Murray, thank you very much indeed.